Parasite makes history at the 92nd Academy Awards. That is the headline of today's MBE movie news. And Stephen, of course, this is going to be our breakdown and general discussion of the Oscars 2020 92nd Academy Awards, whatever you want to call it. I've got a guideline here, but look, there's one big news story that's came out of this ceremony, if you'd like, and it's all about the surprise, some would say, success of Parasite. Of course, it becomes the first ever true foreign language movie to scoop the best picture.
John, we did predict this.
Yes,
we predicted it would win Best Picture a year ago.
Well, I didn't.
No, we did not.
I predicted 1917.
We have got it on record. It was 1917. I think I predicted it would be Joker. So, what do I know?
Stephen, I think the reason we both predicted different movies is because we had no confidence in the Academy nominating, first and foremost, prior to the nominations, Parasite in the Best Picture category. And then once it was nominated, with some of the heavyweights surrounding it, the likes of The Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Joker, and then obviously the momentum which was following 1917 on the build up to the Oscars.
It's no
one foreseen it.
No, and you've got to understand as well, John, in our position here in the UK, this film only came out last week. As much as
last Friday
we read the reviews on it, we did the reactions. The whole place was buzzing for this film and its director. We can't comment on films, and I'm not going to start now commenting on films I've not seen. It doesn't matter really what every other person's saying until you experience that. You can't really form a genuine opinion on it.
No.
But I did think it would be in amongst the mix. I didn't think it would do this well though.
No, Stephen, look, I'm really surprised it scooped 4 awards. Of course, I've said my next little comment or guideline down point, whatever you want to call it, down this list. I'm getting ahead of myself. Bong Joon has once again made history outside of actual Parasite. He himself, as a solitary figure, has made history by winning 4 awards on the one night. The first since Walt Disney.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Since 1953, John. Yeah,
crazy.
You're talking over 60 years there. But did you see his response? He kind of had a little moment on the stage where he was in the background just gazing at this award with a big grin on his face. Yeah. And you knew how much this meant to him.
Stephen, he's a really humble guy. He strikes me as a genuinely decent chap. He's got a real love for film in general. It just rips out of him. Even though he can't speak fluent English, he did have little moments of English coming out. I can't speak fluent Korean, sadly. Wish I could. Because it's infinitesimally a better language than English. It sounds better and everything. But just through the translations and whatnot, you get the real intelligence out of the man, why he's such a good filmmaker, why he's in this position. Just a passion for this love of project, if you'd like. It was about, say, a fair and just movies in general. Yeah. I've spoke about him numerous times over the last few months. A lot of people say he's a sort of Eastern Christopher Nolan, in that he seems to be able to break down different demographics, really brings in so many different ages and just people from all over the world, really. I've started to become acquainted with his movies over the last few months. I think he's absolutely incredible. Not going to lie, I still haven't seen Parasite. We are going to watch this tomorrow. Yeah. We are doing a review on it on Friday, so really looking forward to watching this. Now aided with the benefit of knowing that this movie's scooped 4 Academy Awards. It must be damn good, because if the Academy are breaking a historical tradition, I think it's 100 and... how many? No, it's 92. It must be 92. It's 92nd Academy Awards.
Yeah, John. Well
92 years. 92 years, John. Yeah. If they are breaking a 92-year tradition of not obviously nominating, I don't want to say nominating, I'm sure there must have been a foreign language movie nominated before, but given the acclaim and the award to a foreign language movie, then this has to be good. If they've broke that tradition, the fact they've gave it 4 awards, I think it was Best Adapted Screenplay, I think it won Best Picture, Best Director, and I can't recall the other one. Shocking, but it's picked up 4. I'm absolutely super excited to see this movie now. I was prior to that anyway. But Stephen, I've went on to say, after this, could this win be a pivotal moment in Oscars history? In the sense that this has been a sort of insular ceremony in the last 90 odd years. Most winners are usually English or American made films. They're not really, they don't traverse the world really. They don't give it to foreign language pictures. With this being a sort of big breakthrough, like I says there, could this be a reawakening of this ceremony? Could we see more international made movies coming in, and this becoming a more international centric award show? Because I hope it does.
It's hard to predict the future, John, but what I will say, how this will inspire young, not just Korean, people that want to take up, directing and writing. This has really set a benchmark for the next generation of filmmakers and the Far East. I think that it is possible to get Western audience interested in your work, not just interested, but putting them forward for the biggest prestigious ceremony in the arts. And Bong Joon Ho is a name that I wasn't familiar with, although I had seen a couple of his films, not aware he was the man behind them.
Snowpiercer. That was one for me.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, John, as well. Yeah, that 6 months ago when that trailer, the first trailer dropped back in August, September time, 2019, it was actually one of our, our subscribers. I don't like to say fans. That's a bit pathetic, but. Not that they're pathetic, we are, but one of our subscribers actually put us on that direction to check this out. So I would like to thank that person for saying to us, I think down the line we would have picked up on the buzz of this, but that person gave us, that direction to check this out. Guys, do a reaction on this and tell us what you think of this film. And if you check back on that video, I think both of us were actually very... I don't want to sound patronising, but we were surprised in the quality and the tone of this film, and the change in tone as well, as I recall, John, maybe halfway through that trailer, which stuck with me, and that's when I was hooked.
Stephen, I think, I agree with you. The trailer was fantastic. You get a real sense of what the story was about. Even I spoke about it previously, I think, with yourself. Photographs and whatnot. How that even painted a picture of what was happening in this movie. Yeah. So I almost feel I've watched it, but I haven't. Sadly, I'm about to right that wrong. But just the fact that it is seemingly going across different genres, we're getting little forays into comedy amongst it, and it's just this heartfelt story about society and the way it treats the poorest people, the impoverished section of society more. Apparently a real issue in Korea, and Seoul, I can never get that name right. Apparently it's a real issue there. I think in the Far East in general there's a real division. We had it here for many, many years. Some would say we still have it in Britain. The rich are very rich, the poor are very, very poor. I think that's the case all over the world. So I think the fact it's diving into a story which probably connects with most people in the world, that's again just brought down the boundaries for demographics, for society, out with Korea. And it's why it's so successful. The fact this guy is such a big name. And I'm just glad to see he's got his just desserts. He has been recognised. I've not seen the movie, as I've said about 50 times. But by all accounts, it's absolutely incredible. So I have no gripes whatsoever with that scooping Best Picture, with him scooping Best Director. I've seen a lot of people are upset that 1917 didn't win. They feel it's a disgrace. Although one of the comments says that, I watched the trailer and I'm not really seeing what the buzz is from the trailer. Well, you can't be saying it's a disgrace that 1917 has been hard done to when you've not even watched Parasite, you absolute idiot. Come on, give the movie a watch and then you can speak whether it's a disgrace.
Yeah, we can open this up, and as part of our, what we're going to be talking about, one of the sort of points we'll talk about on Friday, John. Yeah. Once we've seen the film, then we can maybe raise this question again about its comparisons with, 1917 Joker and the Academy Awards. Yeah, exactly. But again, we'll reserve those thoughts until we've seen the film. Absolutely.
Stephen, look, next point I'm going to make though, it's kind of interconnected with Bong Joon Ho and obviously Parasite. Does this slap that the diversity obsessed naysayers in the face, I've says, because obviously we had a near Oscar so white situation like we had in the BAFTAs. I think one black actress was nominated for Best Supporting Actor or Actress, and that saved it. Although I was laughing because I actually seen, I think it was Best Costume Designer or something, actually picked up, and I think it was 2 people of colour. So there was numerous I think even Steve Martin was having a dig in the opening monologue. but there was numerous people of colour in there, just not in the big acting categories. But do you think this slaps all those obsessed? Some people would call it, what is it called? Virtue signalling.
Listen, John,
Do you think it slaps in the face the fact it's a Korean who's won and one big?
Well, I don't know, John.
He's not white,
at the end of the day, I'm not judging this film on the person's race or where the films came from. I think it's amazing. I think it's inspirational. But when it comes down to it, it's a film I want to see. It's a film that I want to judge on my own merit for its writing, its performance, its acting, its look. None of that's got to do with where you come from.
No.
And I think these people, they're entitled to their opinion, but I think if you did slap them in the face, they would moan about that as well.
Absolutely. Stephen, look, you can't please these snowflakes, I think some people like to call them, people who are always, I don't even know what you'd call it, I mean, they're just permanently disenfranchised and feeling hard done to.
Yeah.
I can understand what they're saying. There is some...
Professionally offended.
Yeah, professionally offended. I mean, you can maybe make a case that maybe an Eddie Murphy could have went in there, maybe a Lupita Nyong'o could have made an appearance in Best Actress for her performance in Us, but we were speaking about it before we came on. We'll probably get into it again later on in this breakdown. Such a stacked year in terms of performances, in terms of movies.
Yeah.
And that goes across into technical aspects as well. It's just stacked. I can't criticise the Academy for the nominations they've made and picked, and for the general winners that they've picked this year, which we'll get into again at some point. But yeah, I thought I'd touch upon that anyway. I had a little chuckle, the fact that it was a South Korean director and a South Korean foreign language movie which won big on the night in the midst of this controversy over diversity or lack thereof in this ceremony. So yeah, I digress. I'm going to move on, Stephen.
Yes.
1917 gets completely snubbed from the non-technical categories. What's your thoughts on that? Again, I mean, I spoke about this nearly weekly on the build-up to these awards. Stacked year. I could have had no complaints if Joker won Best Picture, if The Irishman, if 1917, if Parasite, if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That category was absolutely stacked. The directing category was stacked. I have no complaints that 1917 hasn't won.
John,
it was a good movie.
You've answered your own question, because you're not comparing it on its own sort of quality. You're comparing it on other films' quality and how good they were. That's the reason. You look at the breakdown of every category, and it's I said to you just before we come on, we put up obviously the winners on our Facebook page. Obviously, I was considering just putting the winners up and not putting the actual ones that were in the nominations as well. But I thought, something, this is such a strong year for this Academy Awards, and it's important to see what the winners were up against. And
absolutely.
It gives you a measure, on how good that film was to win that certain category. That actor was so good in that category and what they were up against, and it's very important. I don't think 1917 for me, from a non-technical, being snubbed, given any other year it might have bothered me, but not this year, not for what it was up against.
No, Stephen, look, Sam Mendes, I mean, I love the guy. He's done so many great movies. I really enjoyed 1917, but he admitted it himself. Much of this movie was choreographed 6 months in advance, and there was big 9-minute long sequences where he could be 200 yards away from the actors at the end of the scene. So how much of that played into directing, and how much of it was into preparation from the actors and whatnot? I don't know. I think Bong Joon-ho, I should say, I can never get the guy's name right, and I think some of the other directors in there maybe had a stronger claim to winning
tomorrow, John.
Best Director. Yeah, we probably will find out tomorrow. Well, we will, because I'm watching it tomorrow one way or the other. I have to. We're doing a review on Friday.
Yeah.
But Stephen, look, I shall move on to the next little point I'm going to make. Joaquin Phoenix, it's not a little point, wins Best Actor. First ever Academy Award the man has picked up. What's your thoughts on his win? Do you have any thoughts on his very long acceptance speech talking about veganism and whatnot?
John, as you know, here in the UK, unless you want to stay up all night,
I did,
and you've not got work in the morning like I have, I missed the speech thinking I would be able to access this on my commute to work. Unfortunately, YouTube in this country decided to block these initially. They might be up now, but for the last few hours they've not been. I was looking forward to, watching his speech, although there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't think should be in there. I'm very much on Ricky Gervais's side when it comes to acceptance speeches. Save your sort of beliefs for another day. This is not the day. But I did hear it was emotional. He did mention his brother River, his inspirational words to his younger brother. And I think it's there's a bit of bittersweet irony in there. It's sad, that his brother's not there to see it, but maybe he was. But Joaquin Phoenix, it's unbelievable to think this is his first. What an actor. Not just for the Joker, throughout his career. The man's got it all. It's very easy to label these people, method actors, etc. But I think that's a bit of a disservice. I think it's very lazy describing, a very good actor in that sense, despite what ways they get to that performance and what ways they get into the sort of head of that character. His performance in Joker was something, and I mentioned this last week as well, was something that stuck with me for days after I watched it, for two things. Joaquin Phoenix's performance, which was absolutely outstanding, and the Affleck character as well. Because of his performance, I felt sympathy for this character. I understood, I'm not saying I condone what he did, but I understood his position in society and how he got to where he was, and that's all through Joaquin Phoenix's performance. Todd Phillips' writing as well, and I don't know who else.
Bradley Cooper was involved in a production
but
producer.
It's all right having a good script and having a good, dialogue, etc. But Joaquin Phoenix, his performance in this film earned him Best Actor, and rightly so.
Stephen, Joaquin Phoenix's performance in the movie elevated the movie to maybe another level.
Yeah.
It was a great movie and is a complete sort of nuts and bolts level, if you'd like.
Yeah.
His performance really did elevate it. Another one that elevated it another thing that elevated the movie was Hilda Gooden, the daughter, if I can say the name right. I don't think I have. But she won for Best Original Score as well.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic score. Again, another stacked cast though. Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. When you're up against the great John Williams and Thomas Newman and whatnot, I think it's another Newman who scored Marriage Story. You really have excelled yourself in that calendar year to pick up that award.
Definitely.
Such a stacked year. And look, there was never going to be any other Best Actor winning this year. It was set in stone. Once everyone had watched that performance in Joker, it was immediately clear that the man had it sewn up. He was just incredible. An amazing performance, an amazing method performance. Really getting into the skin of this iconic character, writing down notes in a diary, steeping himself in it, losing lots upon lots of weight. I can't recall how much. I think it may have been 30 pounds. So he went right into it, right down to he's struggling to run upstairs because he's emaciated, borderline anyway. So I'm absolutely delighted Joaquin won it. As you did say, an incredible acceptance speech in parts, kind of eye-rolling in other parts when he's speaking about calves and milk being used and whatnot. I'm like, come on. But when he spoke about being a scoundrel and how he's been quite abusive and he's not been a great person at times, but he's rebuilt himself and with the help of people around him in Hollywood and whatnot, it was a really touching speech in part. So I'm absolutely delighted for the guy. But look,
just before you do, John,
yes,
just something that came into my head. Joaquin Phoenix, this is the man that played Johnny Cash in Walk the Line, and he never won in any category for an Academy Award.
Played a great
that's
Roman Emperor as well.
But then again,
Gladiator.
I'd have to see what he was up against. This is the argument we're forming here. So,
what year would that have been? I don't know.
2005.
Oh, that's a difficult one. I'd have to give
2005, 2006. I can't remember.
I'll have a little Google at that, Stephen. And once I fling you under the bus in the next point I'm going to make.
Yes.
Brad Pitt. Again, we speak about people who have not won an award, an Academy Award. Brad Pitt finally wins an Oscar. You speak about a man who's a great actor, who's done it all, different genres, rom-coms right up to war films, to playing a fantastic stunt double in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. what a performance it was as Cliff Booth, finally been recognised for his hard work, and again, if I can speak, a fantastic acceptance speech, speaking about how he's not one for going back and looking at his past, but this period has really made him look back, think about his parents taking him to go and see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and how that got him into movies, and he packed his bags and went to Hollywood and really made it as an actor, and it's all culminated in this.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I think he's a fantastic actor. He's had his ups and downs, obviously battling alcoholism and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's not perfect. He also left Jennifer Aniston and whatnot, and it was a little shady. But great guy, all in all, for me, and I'm delighted he won this award. I think he was the clear winner, even though he was up against the likes of Pacino and Pesci and whatnot.
I was going to say, John, who he was up against, and one person he wasn't up against was But You Like Me Lobster.
You like me lobster.
But, he wasn't there, sadly. But listen, he wouldn't have won anyway. Brad Pitt, for me, best supporting actor, was the correct one for me. I think, it was such a great film, and Leonardo DiCaprio was Rick Dalton, was an exceptional character. Just a great character.
He says that as well, riding in the coattails of Leo.
Yeah.
What have you?
But this character was so the opposite, of the Rick Dalton character. It just his outlook on life. He didn't need the fancy house, the fancy cars, the stature that this Rick Dalton character craved so much and consumed his life. He was missing out in life, I saw, compared to the Brad Pitt character. I can't remember his name again.
Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth, yeah.
That was me.
That was just such a great character. And Brad Pitt in this film was excellent, and I think, that ending, the ending to the film, the last 10-15 minutes of that film was one of the most bonkers sequences I've ever seen in a Tarantino film, and there's a lot of bonker sequences in his films. This was the cherry on top of the cake.
Absolutely.
And Brad Pitt played a lot in this performance as well. I've not, as I said, John, I've not had the privy to access the acceptance speech and how emotional it was.
A lot shorter than Joaquin's.
Yeah, I can imagine. But he does seem quite a down-to-earth guy, in amongst all the sort of hype that's been surrounding this actor for the best part of 20-25 years, but he is at a stage in his life now that I think, it's surprising that this is his first win, but then you look at the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio, it took him a long time as well. I think he'll just enjoy this moment, look back on it, although he says he doesn't. He will look back on it. He'll look back on his career as well. It's a very successful career, but he seems to be a guy that could retire tomorrow and he wouldn't have any regrets.
No, Stephen, I think he does. So I can't recall what it is. Joinery or something, he builds things. So he's a man who's multi-talented and certainly, as you said, had a stellar career, finally been recognised. Something the Academy do, though, they never gave Al Pacino an Oscar until Scent of a Woman in 93, I want to say.
Yeah.
Glenn Close has still not got one. Gary Oldman took forever as well.
Yeah,
also
2 years
Darkest
ago,
Hour. So they seem to make these talents wait a long, long time, despite having some amazing performances in there. But again, the competition is always amazing in these ceremonies. There's always great performances every year. But look, swiftly moving on, Renée Zellweger and Laura Dern wins for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
Can't speak about Zellweger because I haven't seen Judy.
No.
Laura Dern, I've said, was Dern that good in Marriage Story that she picked the likes of a Kathy Bates, a Florence Pugh, and obviously Richard Jewell and Little Women? I think she was. I think she was really, really good. I've seen some people criticising it. I actually really enjoyed her performance, even though she was a bit of a meddling bitch at parts in that movie. It was someone that really sowed the seeds of discontent alongside Ray Liotta, and obviously Adam Driver's side of things.
Some of the best scenes were
Bingley.
Those two actors, Dern and Ray Liotta, John. I felt, I can't, I'm the same as you, John. I can't really comment on Renée Zellweger's performance, but I can't even comment on who Laura Dern was up against. I can only comment on her performance. You did rhyme them off, John, but I've not seen some of those films. So in Marriage Story, I saw this film. I think it was when it just dropped on Netflix. Actually, a recommendation from a work colleague, and she's in there with some fine actors. But I thought her performance was excellent. Some of the scenes with her and Ray Liotta were some of the best, you'll see. Yeah, you're right, she was a stone cold bitch, but that's who she was playing, that's who she was portraying. And Laura Dern throughout the years has been in some amazing films, done some amazing work, and hats off to both her and Renée Zellweger. I would say that she probably did deserve to win her Best Actress as well, although I've not seen the performance yet, John. I will get round to seeing it, but again, Renée Zellweger's been around for the last 2 decades and more. She always turns in performances, even her dodgy English accent, and
Bridget
Jones,
yeah.
I nearly forgot that as well, John. So I'm not having a good night, but I think they probably did deserve, their best actress and best supporting actress. It's funny how we don't use that terminology now, John, and they still have it as, I know they've got to
make a distinction.
Or maybe they don't. Why don't they just put everyone in the one category?
We can't have that. Oh no, that would cause so much seeds of discontent.
Yeah.
Stephen, you look at Best Actress category briefly before I move on. Cynthia Erivo, I've not seen her performance. Saoirse Ronan was stunning in Little Women.
Yeah.
You've obviously got Charlize Theron in Bombshell. Still not seen that one by all accounts. Very, very good though. I think Margot Robbie get nominated for Best Supporting Actress for that same movie. Yeah. And then finally Renée Zellweger and obviously Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story. You've got to feel for Scarlett Johansson. Double nomination for Jojo Rabbit in Best Supporting and Marriage Story in Best Actress.
Well, I think
Jojo was one of her best performances.
I think in Marriage Story though, it's a bit more difficult because of the leading actor as well. They were kind of sort of top billing.
Yeah.
And it's very hard. But I thought Laura Dern's was the right decision for supporting actress.
Yeah.
But Scarlett Johansson's a fine actor. She'll have more opportunities. She's been there before anyway.
Absolutely. Stephen, look, the only other thing I would say, Kathy Bates, really good in Richard Jewell as well, but wasn't that good to outshine Laura Dern? Not a chance, man. But Stephen, look, we will move on swiftly to the next point. It's all about the great god of cinematography himself, Roger Deakins, winning his second Academy Award on the trot. The man had to wait, I think, 20 odd years, 30 years for his first, and now he's went along and won 2 in the trot, and fully deserved for what he did on 1917. A one continuous shot look, just masterful what he did with the camera in that movie. Just that sort of overseeing creative genius. He's the perfect guy to bring in for a Sam Mendes when you're trying to do that kind of movie.
Yeah.
Fully deserved. No one else really could have won. I'm sorry, they couldn't have. I don't know your thoughts are. Maybe you would disagree.
Not for that category, John. Certainly not. This is one of the things we talked about on our movie review about a month ago. And
Lighthouse was good though.
Yeah, but it was just cinematically, this film, it's a clear winner. The Lighthouse was great for what it was, John. You're right, but the experience of that in a cinema was for different reasons. This film was large in regards to cinematic, performances. Iconic shots, I would say, even this early. I think that trench run, although technically he wasn't in the trench, he was running alongside it, or walking alongside it, kind of walking fast. I can't remember.
Oh, he was running.
He was running. Yeah,
for sure.
And just that iconic shot, and for them to use that in the trailer, which I thought, when I saw the trailer, I went, they're really using that shot, and when you see it in the film, it's almost the whole length of that shot is in the trailer is actually in the film. So it's just one of the standout shots. But then again, you look at all the other stuff as well that you take for granted.
The bridge shot,
John.
Shipyards.
Yeah, it was amazing the way that they just transformed that area into, and it was seamless as well. It didn't look they're in a different location here. This looks totally different. It certainly didn't.
Oh.
But the one I'm talking about, John, is the two actors walking through the trench at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you take things like that for granted because you're so focused on the actors' performances, you actually forget, wait a minute, there's not been any cut scenes here. You know, and this camera's panning all the way back. You're talking a good, I don't know, if it's as far as a mile, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it was
don't
a good 200-300 yards.
You know, it was a good 10-minute walk anyway, you know,
Yeah.
and
maybe more than that.
and because you're so focused on these two chaps and their conversation, you actually do take for granted what Deakins has done here, you know, because his way of, you know, presenting a film is so natural, and I think we've got to that stage with his work that, and I hope I'm wrong, that we don't take it for granted, because the man is a master at his trade,
Yeah.
and for him to, you know, I can't believe this is only his second Oscar, you know.
It's a joke.
For the length of time this man's been doing his, you know, his.
I mean, he did Shawshank.
Yeah,
and that was an incredibly short movie.
But you know, we can go on all day about Shawshank, you know, and what happened there at the Academy
scandal.
Awards. But
one of the biggest robberies.
I would say, you know, he's thoroughly deserved it, and again, it was up against some, you know, tough, you know, competition.
Absolutely, Stephen. Look, the other two categories 1917 picked awards up in were best sound mixing. Can't disagree with that.
No.
Some of the soundscapes in that movie were incredible. And then also best visual effects. That one I kind of disagree with. There was some stunning visual effects. I'm sure that plane crash sequence through the barn wasn't practical. I'm pretty sure that would have been visual effects. But come on, you've got The Lion King in there.
Yeah.
You've got Avengers Endgame and The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, Endgame doesn't win for best visual effects. Come on now. It's different kind of effects.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, that was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a photograph of Thanos and he had stubble.
Yeah.
That was the level of detail in the visual effects. How does that not win?
It's a strange one, John, because you're right, because normally when you think of visual effects, you do think of your Avengers films, you think of your Star Wars films, Lion King. You don't think it for this type of film, and perhaps that's maybe why it's won, because it's subtle and it's convincing. The fact you said you're not sure if that plane was visual, practical or visual, says it all, John. It doesn't mean I'm not surprised that it won that category. I'm not saying that it wasn't good. It certainly was, but when you see what it's up against, I would have probably have assumed, you know, wrongly, that Endgame would have won that, but there you are.
No, Stephen, look, that's what it is. They've probably just flung 1917 an additional bone because they knew they were semi-dissing it, snubbing it harshly. Some people would say for the bigger awards, but it is what it is, man. Can't really deny 1917 on a visual sort of aspect getting awards because it was stunningly crafted shot and it was a big part of the movie. But look, Steve and I will move on to the next point, the third last point in this video, incidentally. Yeah. Taika Waititi winning best original or best adapted screenplay, I should say. Are you happy that Jojo was flung a bone? I've says kind of a tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Are you happy that this movie got some recognition? I know that Scarlett Johansson was nominated for role. I can't recall the character's name. Doesn't even matter at this stage. But I'm glad that Taika won because it was incredible, that story. And just hearing him speak about how happy it is that this movie is being used educationally for future generations on how ignorance and brainwashing and I can't recall what the word would be to use it. Just general industrial scale brainwashing. How dangerous that can be. It can set a dangerous precedent in younger minds and whatnot. They become ignorant of reality and the truth. And this is just an amazing story for capturing that, the innocence of a child's mind, and then it being awoken to the horrors of war through this interaction with a strange girl. I'm glad it won.
I think Waititi he's not bashing you over the head with this, this theme, but it's subtle enough to understand and understand his message. I was happy to see it, win Best Original Screenplay. I think any story involving Adolf Hitler as your imaginary best friend is very original. Certainly the way that Taika Waititi plays him as well. You've got to remember that, that character wasn't a big part of the film, for screen time. But he was there for a reason. He was there to guide Jojo wrongly, But the amazing thing about the Jojo character is he sees through this imaginary friend and the propaganda that it's feeding. You've got to remember, this character isn't the Adolf Hitler that Jojo would have saw on television with his famous speeches and his rants. This is the one that's fed through the likes of false information and just the propaganda that was, the propaganda machine, as they call it.
Joseph Goebbels.
Yeah, and this is and Jojo's that representation of the next generation of Hitler Youth, and how easy it is to manipulate the young. And in this film, you see that there's more to it than that. There's more to these, kids, which they were. You saw it in his little friend as well, and he was great. The little boy with the glasses, I can't remember his name, but he was fantastic in this as well, And the message was, very clear as well in this film. So I'm very glad to see it did win something. It did get some recognition. I don't know if I would use the term flung a bone, John. I think it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think it thoroughly deserves its award.
Yeah, Stephen, look, in his acceptance speech and behind the scenes press conference with the press, absolutely hilarious. Yeah. Just flinging jokes, sarcastic remarks out left, right, centre. Someone from Austria asked him, could they claim this award more than as much as him? They said no, not a chance. So I love the guy. I'm glad he got the nomination, got the award in the end. But I'm going to move on, Stephen, to the penultimate point in this little breakdown of the 92nd Academy Awards. It's all about Toy Story 4. Was it a deserved winner for Best Animated Movie? Because we did have the likes of Missing Link in there, a great Leica Studio stop-motion animation film. I'm trying to find the other ones. But look, they're the real two that I thought of. So it was a real duel between those two.
Yeah.
John,
if
Klaus, I lost my body.
It's one of those categories that normally I pay attention to. This year, for some reason, I never gave it a second thought until I seen who won it. And I'll be honest with you, apart from Missing Link, I'm not really too familiar with the other, contenders in there. What I will say is, though, Toy Story 4 was a very good film. It's a film that we didn't really need, but it was a very good film as well, and a continuation of the Toy Story brand. How it performed at the box office as well was outstanding. I don't think that should be taken into consideration when it comes to award season anyway, but unless I see the other films, I can't really comment on whether or not it deserved it or not. All I can say is it was a very, very good addition to the franchise.
Yeah, Stephen, look, final thing I'll add on that, I did watch How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, of course. I binge watched the entire franchise. I hadn't seen any of them. Yeah. And look, that was a fantastic farewell to that franchise. A great movie. Not as good as the second one for me though, so ultimately it was a shootout between Missing Link and Toy Story 4, and I think the fact that Toy Story 4 is a bigger brand with bigger actors, some great performances in there from the likes of Keanu Reeves, Yes I Canada and whatnot, was always going to take the win in the end. I think Missing Link won the Golden Globe. That was a surprise. Toy Story 4 wins the Academy Award. Can't really complain about it. And I'm going to move on to the roundup of overall thoughts on this year's show, Stephen. What did you make of it? I know you haven't seen it, so can't really discuss the actual watch the show, that is, so you can't really discuss the Steve Martin, Chris Rock monologue, which was hilarious. They took apart some people in the audience and whatnot, and just things about diversity and whatnot, very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
General presenters, we had James Corden come on with Rebel Wilson and whatnot. There was some interesting things happening, but that's what it is. I don't really care about it. I wish they'd just streamline it through the goddamn awards. Just tells on a screen who's won and that's it. Incidentally, the first ever Academy Awards lasted 15 minutes. These things are lasting 3.5 and 4 hours now. Yeah. Way too long. But we'll not get into that. You haven't seen it. What was your overall thoughts on just the winners? Do you feel like they got it right in the main, the Academy? I think it was quite... I want to say it's egalitarian, I think is the word. And that they've spread it out very fairly.
I think
There's not one big winner. You could say Parasite is the triumphant movie, 4 wins. But they've spread things out nicely. Little Women get a win, Jojo get a win.
But I don't think it was to appease everyone, and everyone's agenda, John. And it shouldn't be. If there's one great film out there that stands above them all and it wins everything, then it should win everything. Yeah. Simple as that. That's the way it works. But saying that, commuting to work this morning, picking up the headlines and looking at all the winners, that was my initial thought. I thought that's a good spread of winners. Very surprised. I'll take that back. I'll not say very surprised. I was slightly surprised Parasite winning Best Picture. Yeah. Not that I would have thought it wouldn't, just because I haven't seen it. But
as we say, Stephen,
but quietly pleased as well, John.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to see, and I can't wait to see the film now, and I can't wait to talk about this on Friday. But overall, my thoughts on the spread of winners are it's always good to see everyone getting a chance and everyone getting an award because I understand why it hasn't, John. Yeah. When you do see the list of winners and what it was up against, it's a very hard call, and I think this has been one of the toughest years.
Stephen, you look at the movies that haven't been nominated, the likes of The Lighthouse and whatnot, and Dolomite Is My Name, Uncut Gems. It's been a fantastic year for cinema, obviously Midsummer as well, and Us. So there's some really big movies and performances which didn't make the cut, and that's because, as we said time and again and throughout this episode or this show, whatever you want to call it, competition was sky high this year. I think they got it right in the main. I think they got the nominations correct. I think they got the winners correct. I mean, it is what it is. Parasite winning Best Picture did surprise me slightly. Not for the movie itself or Bong Joon-ho. Is that right? Bong Joon-ho. I'm saying it right. I'm getting paranoid about my pronunciation of that name now. But more because of the Academy not usually picking foreign language movies to win Best Picture and whatnot. They usually go for the safe option. That's why I thought 1917 was probably a lock with the momentum and whatnot. Pleasantly surprised though to see that it didn't. They took a chance. They picked a more exotic movie, which by all accounts is connected with the whole world, and it's apparently amazing. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Much like yourself. But all in all, really enjoyed the show. Really enjoyed the spread of winners. Could have been doing with less of the veganism acceptance speeches, but it is what it is. And unless you have anything else to say, Stephen, then I shall round up the show and the breakdown of the awards. What did you guys make of the 92nd Academy Awards? Did you watch it? Did you think it done okay without a host? Or was it a steaming pile of shite? What did you make of the nominations, the winners, everything in between? If you've got anything to say at all about it, you can comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. And you can subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. And if you do, then you'll see me and Stephen again tomorrow for MBE Heroes.